I was really refreshed by it actually. Having seen bits and bobs from the grown-up politicians, I felt like it was a really good debate. It was really respectful of everyone, the audience, the other members of the panel. So there was no kind of bashing between the ins and the outs. And I thought that was really refreshing to see. No one really shouting over each other. It was passionate, which was fantastic to see, but it was also polite and respectful, so really good.
And from your perspective, as someone who has a disability, if I was going to tell you that we're leaving the EU today, what would that mean to you?
I think I'd be quite worried. The way I see it, and I do not profess to be fully clued up about any of this, but the way I see it, the EU does quite a lot to protect my rights as a disabled person. I feel like although the UK has a lot of rights that are covered for disabled people, so they have rights to work, rights to benefits and housing, I feel that they're not so secure. I feel that if we were to leave the EU, there would be more scope for them to just drift away. There wouldn't be that much emphasis on them continuing in the future. And yeah, I would feel worried. I think looking at the budget recently, it doesn't feel too safe to be a disabled person right now.
Yeah. And do you feel that, so we had a whole debate about youth issues, but disability wasn't mentioned once. What do you feel about that? Do you feel the disability issue is missing from the lead?
Absolutely. I wasn't surprised in the least that disability didn't come up. I feel partly responsible that I couldn't come up with a question myself. I was desperately trying to wrap my brains to kind of put together something that I felt the panel could answer, which I think was part of the problem. I felt that if I, as someone coming into this not very clued up, only asked, so what does it mean to me? I kind of didn't really feel that anyone would be able to give me a decent answer, because no one really pays that much attention to disability, I don't think. I think it is the coverage of it. I think no one's really mentioned it. No one's brought it up. I think there were some really good points raised about LGBT issues, and I think they're kind of almost parallel to disability issues and rights in a way. They're not the same by any means, but there are lots of similarities there. And that came up and that was really great, but again, disability was missing. I don't think it's irrelevant for the youth vote to be thinking about disability issues. I mean, I'm a member of the youth and I'm disabled, so yeah, that was a shame. But at the same time, I didn't feel secure in the knowledge that the panel would be able to answer a question on it, which is a shame. It would have been nice if it had naturally come up.
And from your perspective, did you come to the debate already knowing why you're going to vote?
Yeah.
And can you say that to the camera? Why are you going to vote and why?
Okay, so I'm voting to stay in because I feel more secure in the EU. And as a student, I did a year abroad. I got a huge amount from spending a year in 2 different European countries. And I'm not convinced that would be so easy. I'm not convinced I would have done it if there hadn't been the Erasmus programme, if there hadn't been the EU. So I think that kind of really was a decider for me.